Hey everybody, this is Darren Van Dam and you are watching Flick Connection, the show that helps you get more out of movies, and today I want to tell you about all the best stuff Netflix is adding in December 2019. So December is kind of an odd month for Netflix because they're not adding a ton of stuff, but they are adding some key new Netflix original movies that look incredible, including a new series. I'm going to talk about all that, while also mentioning some of the older stuff that I know you've probably seen, as well as some lesser known movies that Netflix is adding this month that you're going to want to add to your queue. This video is sponsored by CyberGhost VPN. I'm going to tell you how you can get more out of your Netflix subscription by using that service later on in the video. But first, let's talk about the stuff that gets added on the first. Normally, I have a long list of great things getting added on the first because that's when they dump a bunch of stuff. It's not really happening this month. They're adding the Austin Powers Trilogy, which is kind of cool because I've seen the Austin Powers movies appear on other services for a while, but I have not seen all of them in one location in quite a while. So if you haven't seen them in a while, check them out this month. And then sort of a hidden gem I know a lot of people have missed is Searching for Sugarman. This is a very interesting documentary about a musician who put out one album and faded into obscurity. Nobody knew who he was. And he sort of was living this life of, I guess you could say, quiet desperation, but he had a huge following overseas that he didn't know about, and it makes for a very compelling and pretty touching documentary. So if you haven't seen that, I highly recommend checking it out. Jumping ahead to December 6th, Marriage Story gets added as a Netflix original movie. This is one of the most talked about ones of the year, one of the most talked about. It stars Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver, and it is a story about marriage. It appears to be very, very focused on a sort of rough marriage and divorce proceedings, and looks like it's not going to be a feel-good movie, but so far the reviews it's getting are very, very good, so be sure to be on the lookout for that one. On the 6th, they're also adding a new docu-series called The Confession Killer. I'll be watching it. I'm kind of a sucker for true crime shows, and the ones Netflix has put out, I think have been really great. I think they've been better than sort of your basic cable TV, Forensic Files kind of stuff. They've just been a cut above. They've been pretty top quality stuff, so I'm looking forward to this one. Now on the 9th, It Comes at Night comes out. Now this is only a couple of years old, but this is one of the most disappointing movies to have come out in recent memory, mainly because they marketed it and honestly titled it really poorly. I think a lot of people had high expectations for this movie. My recommendation is to go into this, if you haven't seen it yet, with no expectations. This is not a typical horror movie, but to me, I thought it was shot really well. I thought it was acted really well. It was creepy, and it felt like it was fairly realistic as well, which made it all the more creepy. This is just a good example of low expectations making for a good viewing experience. Check it out if you haven't seen it, but go into it the right way.
Welcome to the world's biggest magnet. Grenade!
Yes, I'm in a different shirt. Why? Because I completely skipped over a portion of my notes when I originally filmed for 6 Underground, which is the biggest thing coming to Netflix this month in terms of movies, because it stars Ryan Reynolds, it's directed by Michael Bay, and it's written by the same guys that wrote Deadpool and Zombieland. To me, this sounds like a perfect formula. I'm honestly surprised that it's coming out on Netflix in the US. It seems like something that should be coming out in the theater, and hate on Michael Bay as much as you want. I've done it. I'm not a fan of the Transformer movies, but if I'm being honest, he is at his best on movies like this that are not franchise, that are just action movies, that are one-offs, that are maybe slightly smaller budgets. He does a really great job with lower budgets. He really stretches the money out. He does some crazy stuff. So if you watch this one with the right mindset and just have fun with it, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think it's gonna be kind of a special treat. That drops on the 13th. I personally can't wait. Expect to see a full video review from me on this one. I know Mrs. Van Dam is excited for The Magicians Season 4. I won't be watching it, but it'll allow me to have a little bit of me time while she's busy plowing through Season 4. If you were a fan of the show and you're a cord cutter and didn't get to watch it on network television, you can check it out on the 16th. On the 20th, the biggest thing to come to Netflix since, I guess, this week, The Irishman. But a new Netflix original series, The Witcher, gets added. There is a series of books and video games that are very popular. I have played the games. I really like them. I really like the mythology. And I'm not a big fantasy guy. Like, I don't nerd out for every fantasy thing that comes along, but I was a fan of Game of Thrones. I really like what The Witcher is all about. I'm hoping it translates to a series. If it does, it's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be potentially a Game of Thrones replacement for a lot of people. I kinda don't expect it to do that well or to be that good because it's gonna be a while, I think, before we see anything that good, but I still think it's gonna be a very enjoyable show, so be on the lookout for that coming the 20th. Also on the 20th, they're adding the two popes. In this movie, Jonathan Pryce and Anthony Hopkins. The Anthony Hopkins play Pope Francis and Pope Benedict, respectively. And this is done by a really great director, the director of City of God, which is widely considered one of the best movies ever made. There's very little buzz about this movie. I don't know why. As of the beginning of the month, no one's really talking about it. It could be great. It also could just mean that there's not much to talk about with this movie. We will see. I'll definitely be checking it out and letting you know what my thoughts are on it, but that also drops on the 20th. On Christmas Eve, the only real gift Netflix is giving anybody is Lost in Space Season 2. I found Season 1 to kind of drag. They spent the whole time on this one planet. I didn't really like it, but I did give it a good shot. I know Miss Van Dam liked that show as well. If you liked it, be on the lookout on the 24th, because odds are it's going to get released without a whole lot of fanfare. Jumping ahead to the 27th, The Secret Life of Pets 2 gets added. That'll be a great one for the family, right? I mean, it's almost missing the Christmas break, but you will get a chance to watch it before the kids have to go back to school, so be on the lookout for that. And you may remember in Secret Life of Pets, Kevin Hart voices the bunny. On the 27th, there is also a Kevin Hart documentary series getting added to Netflix called Don't F This Up. Whether you like Kevin Hart or not, he is one of the most successful entertainers in history, certainly of our time, but really in history. He's one of the most widely successful in so many different avenues, and he's had a lot of bumps in the road just in the past year or two, and this docuseries kind of covers that. I find him to be a very interesting person for a lot of reasons, so I'll be checking out this 6-part series as well. But like I said, that also gets dropped on the 27th with The Secret Life of Pets. I have a feeling, though, it's not going to be for the whole family. And don't go anywhere yet, because they're adding a ton of stuff at the very end of the month, and then I'm also going to show you everything that's leaving during the month of December so you don't miss it. But first, I want to tell you about CyberGhost VPN. This is a service that I have been using for a while that helps keep your web browsing secure, but in addition to that, they have select servers in their long list of servers that allow you to access more movies on Netflix and other streaming services. If you don't know, different countries have different movies. Like right now in the UK, there are a bunch of big blockbuster American films that you cannot watch on Netflix here in the US. You can get it right now for as little as $2.75 a month, and it's available for simultaneous streaming on up to 7 devices, including Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, Linux, the whole swath of them. They have a 45-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, feel free to cancel it. They have 24/7 customer support. I've never needed it because it's pretty intuitive and easy to use, but take a look, see if it's for you, at least give it a try, and it'll maybe save you some money from renting movies if you can find them available in other countries. But let's go ahead and move on with the rest of the video. Now jumping all the way ahead to the 29th, they're adding Lawless. I loved this movie. It stars Tom Hardy, Shia LaBeouf, Jessica Chastain, and Guy Pearce in one of his better villain roles. He doesn't do a ton of those, but he is such a great actor and he kills it in this as well. This is about moonshiners during the Prohibition era. I love movies that take place in that era, and this is a great one. It's got a hard edge to it. It's rated R. It's violent, but still really great sort of gangster flick to take place in that era. I love it. If you haven't seen it, it's one of my top recommendations from this month. On the 31st, they're adding season 2 of The Degenerates. This is a comedy stand-up series with sort of shorts done by some really great comedians. Looks like the lineup for season 2 is pretty good. I loved a lot of the comedians in season 1. They are raunchier comedians, so if that's not to your taste, don't watch it. But if it is, definitely check out some of these comedians, because these are ones that maybe don't get hour-long specials, or at least not many of them, yet you can see them do shorter sets on this series. And now they start off the month by adding the entire Austin Powers catalog, and they end the month on the 31st by adding the entire Pierce Brosnan James Bond catalog. That includes GoldenEye, The World Is Not Enough, Tomorrow Never Dies, and Die Another Day. I rank them in that order from best to worst. I think Die Another Day is a horrible James Bond movie. I don't like anything about it. Doesn't mean you can't like it, because it is just really odd. It's bizarre. It's got a weird flavor to it that doesn't match up with the other ones, but I happen to really like the Pierce Brosnan ones. I mean, not as much as like Skyfall, but I do like them. If you've missed any of those, again, GoldenEye, The World Is Not Enough, Tomorrow Never Dies, watch Die Another Day if you have to. I remember liking the comedy Heartbreakers. It may be because Sigourney Weaver and Jennifer Love Hewitt were both smoke shows in this movie, but it's also got Gene Hackman in it. He's really funny in it. Ray Liotta. This is sort of a funny, sort of just silly comedy about some grifter women trying to kind of get one over on an old man that's about to die, and it did have some funny jokes in it. It was better than a lot of the comedies that fall into that sort of midnight movie sort of sex genre. I find a lot of those to be garbage, and this one sort of was pretty watchable as I recall. They're also adding Red Dawn. That's the original, not the remake. If you've never seen it, it's another high recommendation from me for this month. It's sort of a must-watch, almost a rite of passage type of a movie. If you haven't seen Red Dawn, mark your calendar. It'll be there on the 31st. Basically, it's almost January by the time it gets added. But hey, you know, if you got no other plans for New Year's Eve, it could make a great New Year's Eve or New Year's Day watch. Here is everything leaving in the month of December and when it's leaving. Keep in mind, these movies leave on the date specified. Dates throughout this entire video are subject to change. It's pretty typical for Netflix to change one or two of them, but not many. Mark your calendar, watch the movies that you want to watch before they leave. If you like this type of content and you're new here, please click the subscribe button and click that little bell icon so you get notified when I put out new content like this, because I put out new recommendations weekly so that my subscribers never run out of good movies to watch. Here is everyone donating $5 and up a month to the show to help keep the lights on, keep everything running. There's some new names here, so be sure to thank them in the comments as well, because they are responsible for you getting these movie recommendations. But I will keep making content like this as long as you keep watching it. Thanks for watching this episode, and you will see me on the next one.